We find ourselves here at the 74th Annual Grand National Roadster Show, and we're over here in Building 4 at the AMBR competition. And we're having a walk-around video. We're going to work with Doug from Squeegees, who's responsible for this 32 Ford Phaeton that belongs to Ken Rer that you see in front of us. First off, it is an amazing candy red paint.
Thank you.
And it has a little bit of a 70s vibe to it with the wires and whatnot. Right. Am I on the right track here?
Yes, you are. So Ken reached out to me. I built a Roadster for my dad. It was a very similar color. And he really liked the color combination. In fact, he thought he would do the big white walls and the chrome rims. And he wanted us to do the car. So when he sent it, I realized it had independent front and rear. And I called him and I said, you know, I think a 70s appeal would be better for the suspension you have up. So we suggested the true spokes, obviously the candy red, and then he had got Brian Stupsky involved, and Stupsky did a rendering. As far as the paint work, Stupsky had the idea of doing the ghost scallop, and it's a very subtle scallop and belt line, darker color of candy. When we got the car, it was the 32 Phaeton that Brookville offers. One of the things we noticed is the back of them were really flat and square. So immediately we had rounded the back, crowned it a little bit more, crowned the top, arced the body line to give it more of an authentic look. And then from there we just took off and started the work on the auburn of the door. It was somewhat done when we got it from Ken, because Ken has his own shop and he has his own help. And they did a lot of the metal fab, but when we got it, we fine-tuned, redone the door auburn, and then from there started doing all the fitting and the body work. And all we were going to do to the car was the body work and paint. And halfway through, about the time it was painted, he decided to just have us finish the whole car.
Okay, now tell me about the paint. Let's start at the bare metal. What did you do after bare metal?
Okay, bare metal, we had it powder coated in epoxy, PPG's epoxy. We did all the filler work on top of that epoxy, and then we applied the primer that I offer, which is also an epoxy and a high build primer. And we block sanded, got it all ready, and then we went to paint. I had it all assembled, the body, and I shot it. I made a real special base for it. It's kind of an orange pink salmon metallic base, and then the candy it's half tangerine and half apple red combined, and that was the candy. Of course, I did all the darker accents in a darker base, and then I shot it with the translucent red. And then from there, we clear them, 4 coats, we let them dry, we block sand them, and apply another 4 coats, and it's all PPG.
Of clear?
Correct.
Okay, now do I see pinstriping in there?
That's the subtle darker scallop.
Okay.
It's a different base, but the same translucent red on top of it.
Okay.
And you can see it follows all the way along that fender line.
Outstanding paint.
Well, thank you very much.
It is off the chart.
Yeah, I triggered this myself.
Tell me about the bright work. Who did the chrome?
Well, most of the chrome that on this car was done by John Wright.
Sure,
custom,
right.
Custom chrome plating in Ohio.
Oh, he's amazing.
A lot of the polishing was done local in Arizona by Russell Custom Polishing. He does outstanding work.
Okay.
The upholstery was done by Tracy Weaver, the recovery room.
Okay.
And then the top was done by Sid Shavers.
Now tell me about the wire wheels.
That was our thought. We thought the wire wheels was a great idea. So we got a hold of True Spoke. Fortunately, they still make them. I wanted the 2-bar knockoff, the spinner, and they didn't offer that. So I got on eBay, and I was able to find a vintage NOS package of the original True Spoke 2-bar.
Okay.
And I bought those. And then my machinist made that center cap, which has a machine flute pattern in it.
Yep.
So.
Now what about the tires you've got front and back? What do we got?
Yeah, we got Michelin. I got those through Diamondback Tire back in North Carolina. They buffed both sides and got rid of all the lettering.
So they buffed them to get rid of all the lettering.
Yeah, okay. That's correct.
And then what, the headlights?
Headlights are Vintique, commercials, painted.
How much of a chop do we have
When
there?
I got it, it had a 2-inch chop. I discussed it with Ken. I said it needs another inch. And you know, he was really great to work with. He said, do whatever you think. So he took another inch out of it just to give it a lower look like it has.
Okay.
And then also, when we got it, the cars are never low enough for me.
Yeah.
So the chassis was already done with a Kugel front and rear suspension. And I wanted it lower, but the problem was the arms were canted up to get it where I wanted it. So I reached out to Jeff at Kugel. I said, man, when are you guys going to make drop spindles for your suspension? He says, you're in luck. We just got the first run done. I'll send you a pair. So,
outstanding.
So it worked out really well.
Now, what everyone should know, if you've never been to the Grand National Roadster Show, and especially in the AMBR competition, the car is everything almost. Part of the car is the presentation, so that means the booth. I want you to explain a little bit of something of what's going on here in the booth.
Well, Dennis Kraft works for Ken up at his shop in Colorado, and Dennis came up with this whole idea back, you remember the years of Cartoon Magazine? There was George Strousley, Crass, and Bernie.
Yep.
So he always had a car where it was bright and shiny and just finished, and all around it was laying all the bolts and nuts and garbage that pretty much looks like your shop when you're done getting the car done. So.
There's one thing that I want to call attention to, and it's right over here, and there's a glass of milk, and there's a sandwich, and there's grease on that sandwich.
Yep.
Do you think any hot rodder's ever eaten a sandwich?
I've heard more people comment going, I've seen that so many times. But they eat the whole thing, you know.
I can't tell you how many pieces of pizza, how many donuts, and how many sandwiches and hamburgers I've eaten, and right on the top is a big blurp of grease or oil or whatever.
But we finished it.
We eat the damn thing. Let's walk around here and tell me about the motor.
Well, the engine is a 302 Ford Performance.
Is it an all aluminum block or is it?
No, it's an iron block. Greg Engel had done the exhaust. He worked for Ken at the time, and he had done a lot of the bracketry and the fabrication on the exhaust. Just a nice, simple, good running engine for the street.
Okay, tell me about the brakes you've used on this.
The brakes are all Wilwood.
Okay, so
they're inboard on the back, and then they're
like an old Jaguar.
Correct, and that's what inspired me for the 70s look, is because
we used to do Jaguar,
and actually that's all Jaguar geometry that Kugel had used.
Okay.
In fact, he offered the Kugel Jaguar rear at one time. In fact, the car we won with in 2011 had an early Jaguar Kugel rear end.
Now, I do notice that you don't have door handles.
Correct.
Now, we would have probably done that back in the 70s. So do you have door poppers on this now?
No, since it's a Roadster, you just reach in and grab it.
Okay, so it's a mechanical door, you just have to reach in.
Correct, it's a stock style latch.
Okay. And I noticed a dropped headlight bar in front.
Yeah, that came already dropped, but I modified it and dropped. I got another 1.25 inches out of it and lowered it more. And what you can see is I covered up the second bolt with the drop to get it down.
Okay, now I noticed the cowl has the traditional cowl vent.
Yes.
But is it functioning?
Yep, still is.
It does function.
Absolutely.
So it's our poor man's air conditioning.
We love it.
Okay.
The dash is out of a 37 Buick speedometer cluster.
Okay. I don't think you told us about the steering column or the steering wheel.
The steering column, so it's got a steer clear, Wizard Fabrication steer clear. It's got a shortened GM column and a Nardi Italian wheel.
Okay. All right.
So we think it's all fitting for the era of the car.
Now the center section, what kind of gears do you have in it?
It's a 350 gear set.
Okay, and then the transmission is?
Ford AOD.
Okay, and we talked about the motor, and as far as the AMBR competition goes, it is so distinctive among all the other cars. It's its own build style, and everyone can see that, and I really like that.
Yeah.
Well, folks, there's a quick view of this outstanding 32 two-door Phaeton, and we're thanks to Doug here for allowing us some time, because it's a little crazy here today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm pretty wore out.
It's busy, and the show is just fantastic, a big crowd. So I'm hoping everyone comes by and enjoys this.